Hello Tibia players, welcome to a brand new video. This video is in the style of a PowerPoint presentation, and today we will talk about a topic which is very important but doesn't get enough attention. I'm talking about the solo gameplay and team gameplay. This project took me a lot of hours and I'm happy that I can finally present it to the public. First of all, I have to say that this video is combined with a PDF file, which you can find down in the video description. In the PDF file, you will find more details and numbers, but also graphics. Our adventure takes us 10 years back in time. It is summer 2014 and the update of Oromont is about to get released. This update brings more team-oriented spawns like Oromont Catacombs. 1 year before this, Roshamul Prison was already introduced to the game. On top of this, the party bonus, which we still have to this day, got introduced to the game. Teaming up with 4 different vocations will give you a plus 100% experience bonus on a creature. Yes, that's right. This means permanent double experience, which is then shared and divided by the 4 players of the party. The goal of this was to make team hunting more attractive. But why would a party bonus would be necessary, you may ask? Well, that had different reasons. A party bonus was needed because back in 2014 the vocations were all unbalanced when it came to damage output. A sorcerer was by far the biggest damage dealer. Without a party bonus, a sorcerer, for example, would have never teamed up with the other vocations because he was able to do better alone. Another reason for a party bonus was the slow respawn in general, but also because most spawns were not designed for teams in this time. A lot of spawns were not viable for a party of 4 and would have been overkilled in no time. Last but not least, another plausible reason could have been that in 2014, unfortunately, a lot of players were still using bots, and making team hunt much better in experience than solo hunting or botting would give players motivation to hunt manually and as a team. So all in all, a team bonus was needed and necessary, but even for this time, plus 100% was already overtuned, as you can see in later chapters and statistics. Alright, let's come to our next point. We will take a close look together at the changes over the past 10 years. Those changes were beneficial for everyone, that means for solos but also for teams. All in all, on the other hand, a lot of those changes made the game more team-oriented and favored teams in general. Don't get me wrong, in the end, Tibia is a MMORPG and the game should also have a lot of team aspects. Besides this, the gameplay was changed enormously, but mostly in a positive way. A lot of those changes made it possible for knights and paladins to compete in damage output with druids and sorcerers, and we can now say that those vocations are balanced. One thing remained the same to this day, which is the plus 100% party bonus. Okay, let's take a look together at the changes sorted in a chronological order. Starting in the winter update of 2015, a new trend took place. The first daily bosses got introduced to the game. These bosses can be done with a maximum of 5 to 15 players and have a cooldown of 20 hours or up to 14 days. Up until now, we have over 100 level bosses in the game, and every patch since 2015 followed the trend and added more bosses. Most of the bosses introduced require a team. In April 2016, new supplies were added to the vocations. Ultimate mana potions were added for sorcerer and druids, ultimate spirit potions were for paladins, and supreme health potions for knights. This change was a huge buff for every vocation, but mainly for sorcerer and druids. A new meta hunting method was created where sorcerers and druids went on magic shield while hunting and drinking ultimate mana potions, making them almost unkillable. On a side note, PvP got ruined with this patch because players were also able to use potions on each other, making sorcerers and druids even more tanky than knights and paladins. All in all, this was a change which was a big buff for solo players and hunting. The winter update 2016 brought Tibian's implements. This patch was a huge game changer for everyone. But for knights and paladins, this was for sure one of the best updates the past 10 years. Mana Leech returned mana on attacks, which meant knights and paladins were able to do their attack rotation much easier, allowing them to do better damage overall. Together with these updates, Praise came into Tibia. a system where you can achieve extra EXP, extra damage, extra defense or extra loot on a specific monster. Of all those sprays, the defense spray was clearly the most overpowered spray, and a new meta was created where teams were able to hunt spawns on an extremely low entry level. This can be seen perfectly on new worlds where teams already hunt high level spawns like Geyser Spectres as early as level 60. Finally, in summer 2017, diamond arrows were added for paladins. Paladins until this point were just used as mainly looting machines in team hunts. They had to use assassin stars, crystalline arrows or burst arrows until this point. Diamond arrows attacked a bigger area with medium-high damage, now giving them a huge boost in AoE damage. In the next patch, the winter update of 2017, quick loot was added to Tibia. This update changed everything and very soon you could also feel this on the economy. A lot more gold inflated the servers because players were able to take every drop without sacrificing XP and time. All in all, knights, paladins and teams were slightly having better cards here because monsters die always in the same position, which makes looting quicker and more clean. This patch also brought the first elemental weapons for knights, which was a gnome sword with energy damage. This was a true game changer for knights, which were now able to use the perfect element to combat a creature's weak spot. Additionally to this, armor and defense value was ignored. Another feature in the winter update of 2017 was the newly introduced bestiary and charm system. You were now able to finish creatures in a bestiary, get points as a reward which could then be handed in for a charm. A charm had different effects, such as dealing 5% damage to the initial health of a creature. The biggest benefit of this system had Paladin. With diamond arrows and normal spells or runes, the Paladins was able to trigger a charm twice per turn. A new meta was created where mages used a bow and diamond arrows to do the same thing. Later in a patch, this was removed. It is important to say that the teams are finishing bestiary entries of creatures much faster. Let's get to one of the biggest game changers for teams. With all of those changes, paladins and knights were now able to compete much better with the damage output of druids and sorcerers. This created a new problem. Teams were now overkilling respawns. This means they had natural limits to their EXP and loot due to the respawn speed of the creatures. In September 2018, this changed and the respawn rate was permanently increased by 2, so respawn of creatures was now twice as fast as before. This removed the limit for teams of EXP and loot, and a lot of spawns were now viable for teams or even better as before. One reason for the team bonus in 2014 was the slow spawn, which was now changed with this patch. At least now, the team bonus of plus 100% should have been adjusted. A bit more than 1 year later, the majority of spawn nerfs in EXP and loot started, but more to this later. In summer 2019, a new trend started and strong monsters which attacked players from distance were added to every respawn. Starting with Cobra Scouts and Manticore, this was a silent nerf for everyone in this time. About 1 year later, a new spell for knights was added to counter this. The spell turned distance creatures into melee monsters. This means from now on, to hunt a spawn with the full potential, a knight was needed, which turned distance creatures into melee creatures. Every patch that came after followed the new trend and now every respawn has at least one creature on range. Then finally in summer 2020 a new questline and spawns were added. Soul War was introduced into Tibia. This was the first time where exclusive team hunting spawns were added to the game. Due to very complex and hard mechanics, the spawns are off limit for solo players and only teams are able to hunt there. The nice thing is, with the right settings you are able to loot even best in slot items while doing an ordinary hunt. More updates of this new trend followed with Gnomebrona and Rotten Blood. Last but not least, the major vocation balance came in November 2020. Paladins finally get permanent diamond arrows, which they can buy for 10,000 gold coins from the NPC. Knights get an improved Utamo tempo, which now makes them get less incoming damage. On the same time, they will deal less damage, so this spell is mainly used in team hunts and bosses. On top of this, this spell can be stacked additionally with the debuff of Sorcerers. That means combining Utamo Tempo, Sap Strange and even further, Defense Brace gives teams the possibility to hunt a spawn on an extremely low entry level. On the same time, Udito Tempo for Knights got changed, where they now also get more incoming damage by creatures. While this works in a team, but also for solo players, you need to say that solo players are now affected more by this. It will hurt the Knight a lot more casting this spell if you do not have additional support such as a healer or a sorcerer that debuffs. Something else which got nerfed in this patch was Magic Shield. Magic Shield was now breaking and had a cooldown. With this change, druids and sorcerers were depending more on a team than ever before. Okay, let's get to our next chapter. Advantages and disadvantages when playing in a team. Let's first start with the most important aspects of playing as a team. Spawns are early accessible and overall get easier. A team will start hunting in spawns with a much lower entry level than a solo player. This is something very natural in every game. Content that is too hard for you alone, bring your friends and team up and you will see that spawns are suddenly getting easy and achievable. This can be seen very good on a new world where teams are hunting in spawns with level 60 like Gazer Spectrus, a spawn which is designed for level 250 plus. This is not necessarily a bad thing because teaming up in an MMORPG should bring benefits. On top of this, a spawn is getting easier and less risky. Teaming up means you can split tasks, you can support each other, you are killing creatures faster, even an internet disconnection doesn't mean 100% death for your character. A very natural thing in every MMORPG. The next benefit is that with the introduction of distance creatures, a lot of spawns are now only optimally viable for teams. That doesn't mean you can't hunt in a spawn with distance creatures at all, but it means to reach your full potential and in the best case scenario, a distance creature has to be turned into a melee monster, while the knight positions the creature in a nice square around him. This brings us to our next point. Sorcerers and druids depend and rely a lot on the waves and beams. This means to optimally use them with full potential, the knight has to position the creatures in a nice and clean square around him. This way, druids and sorcerers can hit creatures perfectly with the waves and beams. In a solo hunt scenario where sorcerers and druids have to kite the monsters on distance, a lot of waves and mainly beams will miss and damage is lost. As we seen in the chapter before, and high level content is now designed exclusively for teams. This means that this content can only be done by teams. Even best in slot items can be looted while hunting. The updates are mainly going into this direction and this is for sure one of the biggest advantages when playing in a team. You are now able to do the whole content. Another plus point for teams is that they are able to finish bestiary entries extremely fast. One monster kill counts for the whole team. Daily bosses can be done instantly after a daily hunt. Daily bosses are making up for a lot of content in the game now. The good thing playing as a pre-made team is that after the hunt you can instantly do your boss route. You do not have to find a team for each boss. This also guarantees you to do bosses even if there is no available team. Our next benefit in teams is the spawn availability. A spawn can provide enough space for 4 players. Spawns designed for teams can only be hunted as teams. This means solo players are not able to go to such a spawn. This means a team hunting spawn like Soulwar, Gnomebrona or Rottenblood has a higher availability and is less often occupied. On the other hand, teams can go to solo spawns. Only a free spawn is a good spawn. Besides all of those benefits, the experience as a team is unmatched. As a team, you will reach end results which are not possible for solo players. Even with all those benefits that I just mentioned, in the end, the spawn gets easier, less risky, but you will also reach results which are unnatural, but more to this very soon. Okay, we also need to speak about the disadvantages. This is a very interesting topic. I really thought about the disadvantages of a team for a very long time, but I was unable to find disadvantages when it comes to gameplay or disadvantages which are in-game. The disadvantages playing as a team are mostly coming in shape of real life and quality of life. If you are a pre-made team, this means you need to play the game on a schedule. You will meet every day on a X specific time. This makes you less flexible in real life and lowers your life quality. You have a responsibility to your team. Don't be late. If you are not a pre-made team, this means you need to log in to the game and first find a team before you can start your hunt or bosses. This means, depending on the activity of the game world, that it could take a while until you find your team. That is the reason why most teams are pre-made, but then again, it can turn quickly into a daily task and pattern. The green stamina can limit you. Imagine this scenario. It is 7 o'clock and you already have time to play. You are already online and you and your team are meeting at 8 o'clock to do a hunt and bosses. Maybe you are still on an active EXP boost from yesterday. Due to the fact that green stamina and boost cannot be paused, you need to wait until 8 o'clock to do something in-game, even though you already have time now. All in all, those are the biggest disadvantages when it comes to team hunting. If you know any disadvantages, please let me know in the comments. In the next chapter, I prepared real example and hunts. We simulated a team hunt of how the game worked in 2014. After this, we made a hunt with nowadays options. There is an extra bonus footage of Buried Cathedral, which is one of the best spawns and unmatchable for our level range of 250 to 300. Additionally, there is another example of a 4-vocation team in Rotten Golems. The link for the Rotten Golem video is in the video description. I will speak about the most important facts shortly, but this chapter involves a lot of numbers and calculations, so my advice to you is to check the more detailed PDF file in the video description. Everything is explained perfectly fine there. I will let the video play for about 1 minute and then speak some words to each. You can see that in the 2014 version of Catacombs, a total amount of around 4.8 kk real EXP is achieved in 60 minutes. What does real EXP mean? It means the total value of EXP achieved by killed creatures without any bonus. This also includes no bonus for teams. With the team bonus, on the other hand, around 9.6 kk is achieved. Now this value has to be splitted to 4 players, which makes each player gain 2.4 kk per hour. You can see the portions of damage of each vocation's participation. With the participation of each vocation, no one in the team would have achieved 2.4 kk per hour. You can see that Knights and Paladins were very unbalanced in this time and why a vocation bonus was needed. Otherwise, the Sorcerer and Druid would have not teamed up. In the 2024 version of Catacombs, a total amount of around 6.6 kk real EXP is achieved in 60 minutes. With the party bonus, this means 13.2 kk is achieved, which is then splitted again by 4 players, so 3.3 kk per hour. Now the damage is much more balanced, but then again you can see with the participation of each vocation, more or less only the half of 3.3 kk would be reached. This means that the 4 vocation bonus creates an unrealistic amount which cannot be reached, taking the full potential and participation of a character's damage. In other words, a character performs natural in damage according to level, skills, equipment and formulas, but reaches overperformed and unnatural end results as a team due to the bonus. To reach an end result like this, in reality a much stronger character is needed. In this example, a total of 1816 monsters were killed by 4 players together. On the other hand, to reach the amount of 3.3 kk XP alone per hour, a character would need to be strong enough to kill around 868 monsters alone. This can also be seen very good in this graphics. You can see on the left picture, with the damage dealt in the hunt, enough monsters could be killed to reach around 1 kk to 2 kk depending on locations. The team, on the other hand, reaches an unrealistic and unnatural amount due to the 100% bonus of 2.4 to 3.3 kk per hour. This can be seen again on the right picture, where each point resembles the real XP by damage dealt of each location, where the black dot is the unnatural amount of EXP per player. All in all, the team bonus creates a value which you would never reach with a character of this range alone. The conclusion of this is that the team bonus of plus 100% is too high. Even for 2014 standards, the bonus was already overtuned. If you are more interested into this topic and calculations, please take a look in the PDF, which is linked in the video description. Let's speak about the consequences of the imbalance between solos and teams. First of all, a big consequence is that spawns are getting nerfed. In an open world like Tibia, it is a natural consequence that a spawn which is good for a solo player will automatically be good for a team. A team will just enter the spawn on a much lower entry level. Together with the bonus of plus 100%, this means they will perform extremely good and much better than the real damage of each member would allow them to. This happened often and is currently still happening, and is most likely the reason for the majority of spawn nerfs in the past years. In the end, the team performs too good and too early and the spawn is getting nerfed. The next consequence is that playing alone will feel obsolete. A character solo will perform the same while reaching worse results. The gameplay will feel less rewarding. It is demotivating to go from a full team hunt back to solo playing due to the imbalance. You could compare this with going back from a double experience weekend to a normal EXP day. In the end, it is not just worse in EXP, but you also need a higher entry level for spawns, and spawns are much harder and riskier alone. You put in more effort and get less reward. Another consequence is that no one plays alone anymore. The majority will play as a team or not at all. This can be seen perfectly on new servers where everyone now plays as a team or not at all. This hurts the economy mainly on a new world because it is close to impossible to not make profit as a team. On top of this, more teams means also more teams for bosses, and less solo players means less players which would potentially buy these items which they cannot loot themselves. The balance of the server is ruined, where solo players are as much needed as team players. And the final and worst consequence for everyone, players are leaving Tibia. It is a fact that the majority of players prefer solo hunting. According to a poll made in 2021, 64.7% players voted that they prefer solo hunting, while only 17.3% voted that they rather hunt in teams. The rest of 17.9% didn't mind and liked both equally. A natural consequence if the game content is mainly done for teams or is favoring teams is sadly that a lot of players will quit. So what's the conclusion and solution to this? The biggest issue is that the team bonus creates an end result of EXP which is fake according to the real damage and potential strength of a character. We can see that the game already went into a direction which clearly favors teams, and teams are having a whole spectrum of benefits. Right now the end result in team hunts are too high. The gap between solo players and team players need to be smaller, at least in normal hunts. This can be achieved in two ways. You either have to make characters much stronger, but only when they are not inside a team, or the team bonus needs to be adjusted to a healthy amount of around 35%. You might ask yourself why 35%. Take a look in the PDF linked in the video description for more informations and calculations. We are almost at the end. Last but not least, let's see the outcome if this gets fixed. It will provide a great balance in the game, a great balance where teams still have all the benefits we spoke about while still reaching slightly better experience while hunting. But solo playing will not feel obsolete and like a waste of time. You can also enjoy the game in a nice way even if you don't feel like team hunting today. The game will feel rewarding in both ways, solo and teams. A lot of spawn nerfs and work could have been saved. In the end, the most important outcome: more players will enjoy and play Tibia again. We have reached the end. If you made it this far, I have to sincerely thank you. Thank you for coming with me on this journey. This project took me countless of hours. I would be very happy if you leave me a comment, and also don't forget to read the whole PDF file. If you want to make this a reality, post this video link, the PDF link, in Tibia.com community in the feedback form. Thanks again, dear Tibia players. Kind regards, Lee, also formerly known as Tibia Lee.